Good morning, good morning, good morning, my fellow Liberians. Let's do this. Good morning, my fellow Liberians. You are about to start getting your regular podcasts. This is something I have gotten to go ahead now to do from 8 a.m. in the morning to 9 a.m. But I decided I'll do just 30 minutes, 8:30 to be precise. Today we will be looking at issues that matter to us, the country people. We heard that the World Bank has signed a $15 million deal to collaborate with the surveillance program for diseases in Liberia. You and I know where the $15 million will be going, and so we'll talk about that briefly. We'll also talk about the plan to endorse Joseph Boakai candidacy on the part of 33 members of the House of Representatives, and we got some words for them today and some advice for Joseph Boakai. We heard about Senator George Weah of the Congress for the Coalition, for Democratic Change, defending his political record, and that's something we will be speaking to this morning, as well as the intelligent insult to Madam President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf that she did not pick up, and not a single member of our government was able to interpret that. I will lay it before your eyes so you can determine whether she was insulted intelligently. We'll also look at the Civil Service Commission, whether it should be independent or an autonomous agency where we have tenure, so that in the case of like President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf appointing her son to be the oil czar of the country. Hey, Silu, good morning. How you doing? Good morning to all of you again. We will be looking at ECOWAS Parliament progress report, but I don't think we want to dwell on that. What matters to us most is what we're going to talk about this morning as country people. Once again, before we go forward, let's understand who a countryman or woman is and who a Congo man and a Congo woman is. A Congo man and a Congo woman is not a Lebanese, a Syrian, an Indian, an American, French, or Canadian. A Congo man or a Congo woman, it's not in the Constitution. They're not a tribe, a religion. No, truth be told, a Congo person is a Liberian citizen that has shared mentality with being better than the vast majority of his fellow Liberians. Let's be clear. It is a mentality. So if you understand, it's not a tribe, it's not a religion, it's a mentality. And those who masquerade with such mentality are Liberians. Born, raised, and educated. But for some reason, they feel that they should say, I'm Congo Va. I'm Congo Grebu. Because it puts them in a certain class. But that class is nothing but a bunch of criminals, rapists, corruptionists, extortionists, evil people. That's who they are. But they are Liberians. They are our own brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, uncles. And for 200 years, they've done this over and over again. Robbed the country people in broad daylight. But today, all the people who wanted to be Congo Grebo, Congo Va, are hiding. Not because we want to harm them. No, we will never do that. How are you going to harm your own brother or your own sisters? You can't do that. But because they are ashamed. They are ashamed. Now let me define for you who a country person is. A countrywoman or countryman. First and foremost, Liberia is a country. And all of the people within, born in that country, whether those who refer to as Congo or not, belongs to that country. Therefore, it is not an insult to be called a countryman. It is the manner and way in which you are called a countryman. You come from a country. Therefore, you are a countryman. You come from a country. Therefore, you are a countrywoman. That's who you are. Again, our constitution is specific. Our country's constitution is specific. It listed the 16 tribes. So if you are a member of one of those tribes, or you swore an allegiance to the Republic of Liberia through naturalization, or your parents came from Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, but they gave birth to you in Liberia, you are a Liberian citizen. And if you are a Liberian citizen, you must accept that Liberia is a country. Therefore, you are a countryman and a countrywoman. But most importantly, you are a person who loves your country and respect your fellow countrymen and countrywomen. That's who you are. Now, if you are a Congo man, you don't like your fellow Liberians. You steal their monies. You rape their children. You treat them bad. That's who you are. Your name does not make you Congo. Your tribe does not make you Congo. It is your attitude and your mentality that makes you Congo. Let me give you a typical example of a Congo man, which will stunt you. I got two for you. First, let's look at the name Samuel Tetchwen Nimle. By any stretch of Liberian definition, is that a Congo man or a countryman, if you want to put it that way? Most of you would say his name is Tetchwen Nimle, so he's a countryman. He's not. He is a Congo man. What makes him a Congo man? Here is a guy that have shot 3 of his fellow Liberians, execution style, at different points in time under this administration. He walks around scot-free. He was recently charged with attempted murder. He still comes on Facebook and threatens people and says he's the big dog. Former Deputy Commissioner of Police, what you would call a seasoned crewman. So why would we brandish him a Congo man? It's because of his attitude. The last of the 3 that he shot, on a Wednesday, he posted on Facebook that people had gone to his residence and had stolen his flat screen TV. And he was upset. On Thursday, he posted that I complained that my flat screen TV was stolen. No one is saying anything. But if I act, they will claim that I am a wicked man. On Friday, he goes to a police depot. Command police officers, picks up his gun, goes into the ghetto, and empties 7 bullets in a guy that he suspected of being the person who stole his television. That's in addition to the 2 other persons that he shot at different points in time. My friend, is that not a mentality that says you are above the law? That you can do whatever you want? But Samuel Tetre Nimle is a crewman. So why are we putting him in a category of being a Congo man? It's because of his attitude. He feels better than the rest of the other Liberian people. He's above the law. The guy he shot before this, his latest victim, he accused the guy of loitering around his police cruiser. And you know what he said? People had been breaking in his cars, into his cars before. And he suspected that the guy was going to break into his car. So he shot the guy point blank range. My friend, that is a Congo mentality. You are above the law. You are better. And guess what the government does? Nothing. Now you know who a Congo man is. It's not because he's cool. It's not your name. It's not your religion. It's your mentality that makes you Congo. The Congo people of 1816 have all been dead and gone. Our own brothers and sisters treat us like this. Another man, Jerome Kokoya. They take all your American passport, your American voting records, everything about America, they lay it in front of you. And they say to you, this is what our law says. Therefore, can you resign? No. You feel entitled. You feel it is your right. And the president who appointed you is herself a Congo woman. Do you see where we come from? That's where we come from. So this morning, let's give the country people a tip-off of the issues. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, in my opinion, according to the Front Page Africa newspaper, was insulted. But apparently, they are too busy with corruption that they do not pick up on intelligent insults. They let it fly by. Let's go to the issue. We're talking about a report on where the president comes up and say that she wants zero hunger by the year 2030. Zero hunger in Liberia by the year 2030. We're in 2017, we will soon get to 2020. So probably you're looking at 13 years from now, we will have zero hunger in the country. Do you believe that nonsense? We will have absolutely no hunger in the country? This government that had $4 million in debt accrued from 1816. And this government begged to be given relief. The entire world and all institutions that Liberia owe decided, okay, yeah, it's your white sheet. You don't owe anybody anymore. There's no name on it, no company, nothing. Your balance now is zero. Zero. And guess what happens? 10 years later, we owe 1/4 of that amount. 11 years under this presidency, we owe 1/4 of that amount. Yet and still, the people who borrow up to $4 billion had electricity running for almost 190 years. 4 billion. But in 11 years, you owe 1 billion, but no electricity. You owe 1 billion, but no water. You owe 1 billion, no healthcare system. You owe 1 billion in 11 years, the people are hungry. They're still doing subsistence farming in opposition to mechanized farming. And then you got the audacity to stand in front of learned people and say you want zero hunger by the year 2030, when you know you will not be president by the end of October this year. What the country people need to know is what I'm here to tell them. Let's go to the paper. The paper quotes, and I'm quoting the paper, under the leadership of President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Liberia has played a leading role in the development of seminal global and continental frameworks that have given prominence to food security and nutrition. Do you believe that nonsense? It's always been a pro-government paper anyways. President Sirleaf co-chaired 27-member United Nations Secretary General's high-level panel on the post-2015 agenda, along with former Indonesian President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono and former United Kingdom Prime Minister David Cameron. President Sirleaf, quote, and they're quoting her now, "The resources and time you have put together has made it possible for me to launch this report." The resources and time you've put together has made it possible for me to launch this report. Okay, go ahead, Ellie. When Liberians, friends, and partners combine their efforts in a common interest, as was manifested in the many months that it took to complete the review, then our country is able to overcome development challenges, including being able to improve the food security and nutritional status of all Liberians. Ellen, did you say that? Who fed Ellen that morning? Who fed the president to say that? When Liberians, friends, and partners combine their efforts, you should have said, when me, my children, and their friends, because we got yet to be impacted or be able to even talk about food security and nutrition. We don't even have a labeling company, let alone a packaging one, before I say a production company for baby food. President Sirleaf said the government has decided through this report to know where the country stands in its effort to tackle hunger and nutrition. You shouldn't be president if you don't know where the country stands right now. You shouldn't be there. But anyway, the one that really tickled me to death, and by the way, you are at liberty to share this video. Just go to the bottom of your screen, look for the share button and hit share. What really got under my skin this morning and pissed me off was this particular part of the story. Ellen said, the paper quote says, the Liberian leaders stressed on the rational implementation of the homegrown school feeding program. Homegrown school feeding program. When was the last time this woman government thought about giving subsidies to the local farmers? How many agricultural tractors, chainsaws, axes and cutlasses this government bought? When was the last time you heard Ellen say all axes, cutlasses, hoes, shovels, diggers are duty-free? But this woman has the audacity to talk about homegrown school feeding program. How can a man who just plants something to feed himself and his family, which is called subsistence farming, be able to harvest enough to feed himself and his family and at the same time sell some to local schools? Where would the money even come from for the schools to purchase the food? When we talk about the Congo people, and then you say we're being divisive. Is that being divisive? No, that's not. That's not. Yet you have a country of about 4.5 million people, in my estimation, with a budget of $650 million, where the average person makes at least $100 a month, and their representatives, 15,000 plus. You talk about homegrown school feeding program? President Selly said they will focus on food that is locally grown by smallholder farmers for the school feeding program. If you're listening to me, does that make sense to you? Or does it sound anything like true? We are not being divisive. Are we? We're speaking to the issues. That is what we want the country people to know. That you're being fooled. You ask Ellie now, how much was allocated in the national budget for agriculture? Let me tell you what I know. We spent between $4 to $5 million on demolishing the old defense ministry to accommodate a Chinese picture of development in our country. In that same budget, that allocated the $5 million to demolish the old defense ministry that was built by Samuel Doe, the same budget allotted $3 million to the national agricultural programs around the country. Shh. We're not being divisive. The only thing you can do is to run your mouth as a Congo man or Congo woman. But you got to go to the budget. Don't quote me. Don't look at me. Go to the budget, the national budget. See how much was allocated to demolish the old defense ministry. And then see how much was allocated for agriculture in a country of 4.5 million people. You spend almost $5 million to break down a building, but you spend $3 million on agriculture for your country. And you're going to come to our face and say that you will focus on locally grown food to subsidize or to for feeding programs in schools. That's a joke. So we want our country people to know, as long as we live and remain educated, we will educate you too. That's who we are. Let's go now to the little disgrace that the president did not see. The United Nations Secretary General Special Representative to Liberia, Farid Zarif, said ending hunger is an important element of the SDGs. And he's talking about sustainable development goals. Okay? So he says it's an important element. But listen to what he said to insult the president to her face. He said, and I quote, as it is quoted in the newspaper, "If it is not Liberia, where should it be that we should launch this report?" My goodness. The whole world. We are the 5th poorest nation in the world. And I'm not proud of that. It's nothing to be proud of. But it takes away my pride and dignity as a Liberian citizen, that I belong to the 5th poorest nation in the world. Even though I can sit in this chair and hold a debate with anybody around the world that we are supposed to be the world's richest nation. Because we are the only country in the world that God blessed with everything. The rest, he gave plenty, like oil, like diamond, like gold. But he gave it to them, maybe 2 or 3. But for us, he gave us everything. Everything. The others, he gave them 1. Some people he gave 2. Some people he gave 3. But come to Liberia. Whatever you want, you will find. From oil to diamond to timber to iron ore to what? You will find. But if this man said, if it is not Liberia, where should it be that we should launch this report? Apparently, he did not see the other 4 poor countries behind us. But it was a slap to the president. Insulted her intelligently. This corrupt country, drenched in poverty by its leaders. If it is not this country, where should it be? He said this is one of the most important elements of sustainable development goals. There is no challenge that indomitable if we master the political will and courage and make a commitment to pull our resources together and focus on the most pressing priorities ahead of us. My friends, my brothers, and my sisters, the UN Special Representative is talking to our president. Listen to what he says and interpret it. He tells her how important the Sustainable Development Goal is. But he says to her, there is no challenge indomitable that cannot be dominated. If we muster the political will and courage to make a commitment to pull our resources together and focus on the most pressing priorities ahead of us. In short, it's telling you to your face, Madam President, that you have not mustered the courage and the political will. Neither have you decided to pull your resources, as I said earlier, towards pressing priorities. Instead, you're spending $5 million to break down an old building and $3 million on agriculture. Bang! Bell goes off. An intelligent insult. He continued. Zarif continued. Zero in hunger requires, like Dr. Sawyer says, not just effort of the Ministry of Agriculture. This is not just for the executive. This should involve every aspect of government, all civil society organizations, and the people. And the people, the country people. Let's hear what the head of UNMIL said. We'll finish with Zarif. Let's go to the United Nations missions in Liberia. The head. The head of UNMIL pointed out that the adoption of the land rights as key to the implementation of the zero hunger. He said, and I quote, "This has been in the making forever." Second man coming to insult the president. This has been in the making forever. The vision was given by the president long time ago. He continues. The draft submitted and revisited many times. It's now about time for the legislature to take action on it. Telling the president in her face that ever since this thing was made, it's been sitting there forever. You did nothing. It's been hanging around. You brought your vision a long time ago. The draft was submitted and revisited many times, unquote. These are things we will tell our country people because God has blessed us to be educated. That you people will continue, you Congo people will continue to fool them, abuse them, misuse them, degrade them, humiliate them, dehumanize them. And when we talk, you say division. To hell with you, the Congo people, and your divisions. Let's go to what the report states. Or maybe, I don't know. I just gave you a gist. The national response has not yielded the results needed to ensure that Liberia makes substantive progress towards achieving zero hunger by 2030 and sustaining it thereafter. Do I need to continue again? The report, and I'm quoting, the national response has not yielded the results needed to ensure that Liberia makes substantive progress towards achieving zero hunger by 2030 and sustaining it thereafter. I'll close on that note. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste my time. However, let's look at some little stats here. In 2015, food expenditures accounted for over 65% of total household spending by a quarter of household in the country, while 41% of households did not have food or money to buy food the week before the emergency food security assessment. Bang! Look at another one. Food marketing is principal pillar of food security in Liberia. Almost 3/4 of rural households buy food, with just 1/5 relying on their own production. 1/5. Look at that math. 5. That's what 1/5 is. 1. All of these 5. 1/5. Okay? Okay? Now, let's make progress. While 94% of urban households purchase their food at the market, Liberians produce only 1/3 of the rice, the staple they consume. 3. 1/3 of what we eat is what we produce. These other 2 come from out of the country. Malnutrition and disease in the past decade in Liberia. Boom. However, it still remains high at 32%. 2013 by World Health thresholds. Underweight, 14.7. But let's look what the report says. According to the report, achieving zero hunger by 2030 requires, now that's a requirement that the president didn't take note of, integrated multi-sectoral actions to address underlying causes that undermine and compromise proper perception, attitudes, behavior, public policy, public and private sector investments, and the modernization and expansion of activities along the food production and nutrition value chains. I don't know why my stuff is asking me to invite people. But I see that somehow people can be invited to be my guests. That's awesome. Facebook is recognizing. So now, there's no way in the world, Madam President, as you can see, she's talking nonsense. I spent a lot of time on the president because she was actually disgraced by those people. All right? Let's go quickly to the other issue I wanted to talk about quickly. The World Bank, I'm not going to read anything again. I'm just going to give you snippets. The World Bank signed 15 million deal to collaborate disease surveillance. The average generator costs, even a used one, $25,000 for a big generator like this house. They are now giving these criminals 15 million. But 11 persons died at the JFK, including my friend Vinton, including the Justice Minister's daughter. $15 million. If you buy 10 generators at the rate of $25,000, you will spend $250,000 out of the 15 million to make sure there are standby generators at every hospital. But no. If you spend another $750,000 on being proactive, then you wouldn't have to bother with the $14 million being reactive. What do I mean by that? Hire young people to go into the villages and towns and tell people to wash their hands when they come from the latrine or the toilet. That when they pee, they should wash their hands. That it is not safe to poop at the head of the river because it comes down and settles where your people in the town will drink. Send people in the towns and villages to educate people that when they see people vomiting and toileting at the same time, they should call a health practitioner. They should try to what? Contain the spread by putting that person in some form of quarantine. Isolation, we call it. But no. They've given the criminals 15 million again. And they will steal it. He said, but Eugene, you just talking, when you go there too, you'll be the same. No. I can live on cassava and ray oil. Trust me. I don't need that. I just want my country to be better. But the way money are expanded and eaten in Liberia has no proportionality in the rest of the world. You cannot lay Liberia corruption activities parallel with any other country in the world. I challenge you. Nowhere in the world. I challenge you. I've seen corruption every part of the world. But our corruption is unique. And the way people eat money in Liberia or consume money, no modern economists can put their finger around that. I challenge you. When my wife visited Liberia, she was shocked. She asked people, how much do you make a month? Just like the World Bank said, $100 a month. Okay, all right. But they go to eat, and the food is $20 for one person. How do you live on $100 a month when breakfast is $10, lunch is $20, and dinner is another $20 in a single day at any good restaurant? And what we call Corbo shop, what is the McDonald's here? It's $5 for Corbo. So even if you eat cheap, it's $15 a day. So this whole deal to collaborate the disease surveillance, you know what surveillance is? You're watching. We don't need people to be watching. We need people to be working. So let's see whether your Congo government will change from disease surveillance to proactive disease prevention. The Congo people will continue with disease surveillance. Had it been us, the country people, we will move on with proactive disease prevention. Case closed. That chapter closed. Come to Joseph Boakai. And I know Anthony, Kessley, and others are watching. If you notice, out of respect for the old man, I always call him Papi. I have always said, and I will continue to say, a win for Joseph Boakai and a win for George Weah is a win for me. We must change the dynamics of our politics, where one group of people for 50 years have dominated and have done nothing. They come with these big lies, as you see me talking about. They act like they know it all and they know nothing. I am part of a nationalist movement to see the formation of a common sense government. All of what I have just said to you is nothing but common sense. Talking about disease surveillance. You want to go spot disease? Or you want to stop it and prevent it? Speak big book for nothing. By the way, kudos to my America. They educated me well. And I can never stop praising this great country for opening my eyes to the realities and to the truth. And I'm closing that chapter. Let's go to Joseph Boakai. I want the Pape, which in our language means the old man. Another name for old man or elder in our society is Pape. You will often hear me refer to the word Pape. I have yet another warning, because before I act or turn my political gears or machinery on a person, I often warn them numerous times. We are looking at the transition of power from the Congo hegemony toward the country people for the first time in our nation's history. And we are not prepared to continue what the Congo people have done for over 200 years. Pape, if you want to continue that, then you let us know. We will put you on the other side. It's easy, simple. We don't need to fight. You just need to go with the Congo people. Why do I say this? 19 senators, the same people that have subjected our people to the sufferings that they have today, endorse you. For now, you and I know my position on that. Every vote is important till we get that office. Then we will separate the sheep from the goat. What do I mean by this? When we attack corruption, corrupt officials will be brought to book. When we look for the rapists, we will find them and prosecute them. When we look for those who hung our children from trees, and butcher them like animals under the disguise of ritualistic killings, we will bring them to justice. So forth and so on. But what you cannot do in our face, Pape, is to practice the attitude of the Congo people or bring to bear on us their mentality. Listen well and listen well, Pape Boakai. The 33 members of the House of Representatives that are supposed to endorse you have that right. The right that they don't have is to use the taxpayers' monies and time to do that. That program should be held after 5 p.m. on any working day, at any place of your choosing or their choosing. If that program is held on a working day, when these people are supposed to be in session and doing the Liberian people work, you would have insulted us and you would have yourself to blame politically. That is a Congo mentality that says, I don't give a damn for the people I work for. If they work for us, the Liberian people, they should be doing our job during working hours. If they want to endorse you, the program can be held at 7 p.m. at your house, their houses, the city hall. I don't care. But it must not be done on a working day during working hours. They are not being paid to leave the government job or the people's work to go and endorse people. No. The buck starts with you. Take my advice seriously or have yourself to blame politically. Case closed. Senator George Weah. You know, this brother does not have to be the one to look at newspapers and others, other political opponents, but in a foreign country for him to say that they are trying to defame him, which in my opinion is true. I want him to move on. Because you know what? Only stooges, fools, idiots will attempt to defame George Weah. Because the fame that he took was not only for himself, but for my country. The first ever country to produce a soccer player to take 5 awards in a single year. All awards the world had to offer in this athletic sport was captured by a Liberian. And don't you forget that. We will hold that record until heaven and earth pass away. Whether it came by mistake or it was intentional, it does not matter. No other human being will take those awards the way George Weah took them. That speciality is what he brought to my country. This was a man who became the world's best when he never stepped on the world stage of soccer. Now you take that to the bank, especially for some of you in the media. In order to become the world's best, you must compete on the world stage, which is the World Cup. Our little country of 4.5 million people, the 5th poorest nation in the world, never ever stepped on the world stage. But her son, her proud son, captured the title while those other individuals, as good as they were, perfect, were playing on the field for the World Cup, he was sitting and taking it. And they all agree that indeed, even though he had not played on the world stage, he was the world's best. Let's go to the second one. This man was not a European. He was a Liberian, which means he was an African. But guess what? Even though he plied his trade in Europe, he was voted as Europe's best the same year. My friend, I should have asked you when he became world best, was that not theme? When he became Europeans' best, was that not theme? When he became Africa's best, was that not theme? He took FIFA Fair Play Award, which in other words means honesty. And then the Ons Mondia. So by the end of the day, whenever his name was called, it was the Liberian-born George Weah. Not a single one of you idiots in the media in Liberia or elsewhere, or some of you politicians such as myself, can defame this man, because by doing so, you will defame my country. Now let's go to the issue. The fact that he entered into politics, it's no longer football. We understand. So everyone will be treated equally. But he shouldn't be on television and say that his own people want to defame him. If it was a lie, I will not like him. But it is the truth. And nobody can defame him. Not as long as I live. You will not defame him. You will argue the issues. And let's get to the issue. The issue here is, you are asking a person to use one finger to pick lice, L-I-C-E, from his hair instead of two. And if you know how bushy or how plenty your hair is on your head, you will not ask this one finger to pick lice. When it was time for him to act alone, you political squirrels and Jebusites are witnesses. What he could do alone, he did alone. When it comes to politics, the best example I can use is Donald Trump. He was the first man to realize that in politics, you are not alone. In business, you can fire and hire. How dare you try to fire a legislator? You will know the difference between government and business. When George Weah played his soccer and Liberia was being forgotten, he rose up to the occasion. He acted alone. He put my country on the map. He put my country on television. He brought my country before the world. He pleaded with the world. He acted alone to the point where his house was burnt, his family beaten. With all of those going on, he never ever gave up on his country. And don't you forget that. When you little scarecrows and accidental politicians were running around from country to country and pushing up the wall and supporting the war to brutally murder 250,000 Liberians. He was running around the world with the Liberian flag and forcing the Liberian team to play on the world stage and financing them out of his pocket to keep the Liberian flag hosted and the Liberian national anthem playing in stadiums around the world. How dare you try to defame such a patriotic son? Where were the Uris? Where were the Bromskins? Where were the Johnson Sirleafs? They could collect money to buy arms and ammunitions, but they would not collect money to have the Liberian national anthem play in the stadium in Accra. How dare you? George Weah needs not defend who he is. He needs to move on. And that is what I'll say. And when it comes to politics, John Mayer was a high school dropout. Bill Gates dropped out of college. So many people. But Liberia has had some of the most educated presidents. And that's what we have today. The Liberia you see. When an 8th grade student by the name of Samuel Doe burst onto the scene, you saw growth and development. When the Harvard graduate came, we owe $1 billion, and we died from Ebola and meningitis, and the cost of living went up, and her friends made big money. My friends, I'll be comfortable working with Old Man Joe or George Weah any day as a janitor. My job will be to clean the bathroom, and I will make sure I wake up every morning 8 o'clock and clean the bathrooms and wipe everything down. That will be my contribution. But at least I'll be working for my country. So Weah needs not pay attention to idiots. He needs to carry on with what he is doing and do better at it. Do have a pleasant day. I'm off to work to look for my daily bread. I'm Eugene L Fahngon, an independent Liberian politician, and I owe no one an apology for what I think and what I see is right. Do have a pleasant day.